Welcome to One Old Man's Opinion. I'm the old man. In the last episode, I railed on the president about this issue with the list and complained about being lied to. I've learned a few things since then. I ran across a video by Alan Dershowitz. I watch his Dershow occasionally. And he titled it "The Whole Truth." Let me get out my teleprompter here. He titled it "The Whole Truth About the Epstein Files" from his lawyer. And I have to admit, a lot of things there I didn't know. A lot of things, a lot of speculation is basically BS. Bad as Epstein was, wasn't quite what the blown up scandals made him out to be. Wasn't especially a nice guy. Did like to play with younger girls. So, at any rate, somebody accused Alan Dershowitz of being involved with him, and he sued, and so he got to look at all the records. And during discovery, then was able to make it obvious that he, was being falsely accused, and so the lawsuit was dropped. The accusation was rescinded. But at any rate, Alan Dershowitz is a very famous lawyer. If you don't follow the news, you might not know that. But he defended Trump a couple of times. He's been a Democrat his whole life until very recently, when he resigned from the party and became an independent. Mostly for the same reason I left the Democratic Party a bunch of years ago. It's because the party ran off and left me, actually. And a few things about him. He was professor of law at Harvard for like 48 or 9 years. He's written 40 or 50 books. The guy is very accomplished. He's also very liberal. And so it's rare that I agree with him on policy, but the man is very interesting. He has a lot to say. And he's just absolutely straight up honest, which makes him a delight to follow. In fact, when it comes to the law, he's no quarter asked, none given. He believes in the law. He believes the law shouldn't be twisted and weaponized. He's defended Trump a number of times, even though politically they're at opposite poles. The guy he's actually a national treasure, a mensch. So I suggest, if you want to, if you want to have in a lot of the questions filled in, if you want to hear some debunking of some of the theories, if you want to know more about Epstein and what was going on with Epstein, what he was charged with, why he was charged, about his earlier charges, the jail time he did for soliciting prostitution, etc., etc. This video on it is very informative. I was wrong about a few things. I'm happy to admit I was wrong. Dershowitz filled me in, and I'm satisfied with. I recognize that the Trump administration has bungled the release of the information. What they should do is follow Dershowitz's advice, because he mapped out how we could all just get over this. I personally am over it. I'm going to do my best to ignore this issue and get on with more important things. At any rate, that's the first segment of this episode. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening if you got this far. Like and subscribe. More importantly to me, share. And if you don't like what you've heard, say something. If you do like what you've heard, like, subscribe, and share. Actually, if you don't like what you've heard, like, subscribe, and share, because the more people I can get to listen, the more viewpoints I can consider. And I might just change my mind, because Mr. Dershowitz gave me some things to think about that helped me to change my mind in a couple of ways. And, I may be older than dirt, but I can still learn a few tricks. And that means if I get a bit more and better information, I can change my opinion. So that's segment one old man's opinion. Thank you. Well, this segment is about Ukraine. The one I was going to post has just been run over from behind by the new developments between Putin and President Trump. So the world's changing direction. I guess I should too. Even if President Trump succeeds in getting these people to sign a so-called lasting agreement, that's not the end of the problem. Because Putin will be back. He has to be back from his own perspective, from his historical perspective. Russia has been Russia has been attacked, I don't know, a couple dozen times or more. I have this list of 12 or 13 countries here that I just looked up recently that have attacked, actually sent troops into Russia. One of them being the United States, which we did back during World War I in order to try to get the Russian army to get back in line. But anyway, the Mongol Empire, I'll use my teleprompter here. The Mongol Empire, France, Sweden, Germany, Britain, Japan, can't read my own handwriting here, Hungary, Romania, Finland, the Crimean Tatars a couple times, the Ottoman Empire several times, Poland a couple times. Their geography is flat and missing natural barriers, so they don't have deserts and mountain ranges and things like that to protect their insides. That means they have to defend an indefensible position. So back during the time of Catherine the Great, in the middle of the 1600s, she came to the conclusion that the only way that their borders could be safe would be if they extended them. So they had to push their borders out to the point where they had defensible positions, mountains, so they could defend the mountain passes and that kind of thing. And so she started adding to the empire with the idea that they would conquer everybody around them up to the point where they could establish defensible borders. And that process was underway for a couple hundred years until finally, I believe it was Stalin who completed the act after World War II, when they took over several of the countries and moved the so-called Iron Curtain out to where they had defensible positions. There are 9 gaps now, or were 9 gaps in that scenario where the Russians could be defend themselves. But the breakup of the Soviet Union messed that all up, and they were only left with like 2. And now they have, I think, 3. When they took over part of Georgia, when they took over Crimea, that was all part of reestablishing their lines of defense. And now they're very much after Donetsk, because one of those gateways is in the part of Donetsk they've been unable to overrun. Guess why? Because it's very defensible. And the Ukrainians have control of that. And the Ukrainians don't want to let go of it for good reason, because they know that if they let go of it, then it would be easy for Russia to come in and mess with them, take them over. And they know the nature of Russia is such that they will be back. They don't trust Putin any farther than Zelensky can throw them, and I wouldn't either. So if we're going to establish a peace, it's going to have to come with some serious security guarantees. And not only that, it's going to have to come with some serious security guarantees of where the United States isn't in the middle of it, because we don't have a dog in that hunt. If Europe gets overrun, what? We got an entire ocean between us and Europe. Every now and then we get a president who thinks that way. It's like, well, you can't attack, you can't send an army over here, so I'm not worried about you, that kind of a thing. So then it will be up to the people of Europe and Ukraine and Russia. They're all heading into a period of decline, whether they like it or not, for demographic reasons. And the Russians have it very bad. They don't have enough youngsters coming up to take care of their retirement crew. They don't have and they really don't have enough people coming up getting a military age that they can both take care of the old people and defend the nation. So it's real tough, and this is the last time, this next few years will be the last time that the Russians can field a really big army. And so that means their chances of reestablishing that defensible border are pretty slim. They will be back. I give them 5 years. We signed some kind of a peace deal. They'll be back in like 5 years. So if they do some kind of a deal, they then have to turn Ukraine into armed to the teeth, bristling military porcupine that the Russians have no chance of overcoming. And so, win, lose, or draw, this is going to be expensive. And even though we shouldn't have troops involved, we certainly are going to have a lot of dollars involved, because Europe can't afford to totally arm Ukraine. Ukraine can't afford to totally arm Ukraine. It's going to take the United States and Europe and Ukraine all busting their hump to get it done before the Russians come back. And if they get it done in time, maybe the Russians won't come back. Maybe the Russians will shrug their shoulders and take their chances, which I think is what was about to happen until the previous administration suggested that a little incursion wouldn't be too bad. But that's the way it goes. We either need to support the Ukrainians right now in every way that we can and help them hold the Russians off until the Russians are exhausted and give up, or we have to arm them to the teeth to keep them from coming back, because there's no scenario that I can see where the Russians will peacefully give up the notion that they have to reestablish a defensible border. That's one old man's opinion. Thanks for watching. So as promised, this segment is about In-N-Out. Mrs. Old Man decided to buy everybody in the family an In-N-Out burger, and she drove off down there, and it's about an hour and a half each way. It's pretty nice of her to do that, bless her heart. Anyway, she knew I was going to be trying to do this, and so she got me an In-N-Out burger, a double, without cheese. Although I have to admit, even though I don't generally like cheese on burgers, the In-N-Out double is a worthy burger. I sometimes do eat those. But in this case, she just got me a double, no cheese, with extra onion, and I have to say I'm anxious to get into it. But before that, I'm going to say a couple things about In-N-Out generally. For one thing, when their stores first go in, you might want to stay away because they're so popular it takes forever to get to the end of the line. But once the things settle down, service is fast, food is quality, attitude is very nice. Most of them, the newer ones anyway, have indoors, so if you can go in and sit down if you want to. Back when I first had my first In-N-Out, there was no such thing as an indoor In-N-Out. So you just went through this little drive-through thing and got a burger. That's why they were In-N-Out. But as they've grown, and they've grown organically over the years, not like some places where they borrow a gazillion dollars and franchise things all over the place. They run most of their own stores, as far as I know, and they're very careful where they put them, and they don't move too fast. Because of that, they're mostly in California, but they have managed to follow me up the coast a little bit. Now they are strung out over Oregon, and there's a promise of one in southwestern Washington State coming up in the next year. So with a little bit of luck, I won't have to drive very far for my In-N-Out burgers. At any rate, I prefer my burgers to have extra onion, and one of the features I like about In-N-Out is that when you get onion at In-N-Out, you get a slice of onion. You don't get a few sprinkles of reconstituted onion. You don't get a few chips of onion. You don't get a ring or two of onion. You get a slice of onion. And, for all of you folks who like onion on your burgers, you cannot beat this. This is as good as it gets. On top of that, if you want extra onion, you get 2 slices on your burger, and that's what I asked for, and it looks like that's exactly what I got. So it's going to be a great day. Tomatoes don't travel well, so if your burger's more than an hour or two old, maybe you should get them without tomatoes. But another one of the things I like about these guys is when they put lettuce on a burger, they put lettuce on a burger. They don't put little sprinkles of lettuce on a burger. They don't put chopped up bits and pieces of lettuce. They take a big leaf or double or triple leaf off of a head of lettuce and flatten it down and put it on a burger, and you get lettuce on your burger. So even though lettuce doesn't contribute a lot in the world of taste, it does contribute crunch and texture. So your In-N-Out burger is good for texture. Your In-N-Out burger looks good. Your In-N-Out burger tastes great. The meat's real. The tomatoes are a big slice of tomato. Okay, these are not teeny tiny tomatoes here. These are tomatoes. The pretty good. So just for the record, here we go. That's typical. I'll drop some on me. Boy, that's good. That's why they're one of my top 5. Today, my favorite. Maybe not tomorrow. It's been a year or more since I had one of these. That's hard to beat. If you're ever over here towards the West Coast, they are starting to spread out, but we don't have any back east too much that I know about. They do have a couple in Texas where they have to compete with Whataburger, so that's a pretty tough row to hoe. But I love these things. So if you're ever on the West Coast, anywhere near where there's a In-N-Out, Try one. I think you will be impressed. And if you have somebody in your family who's a vegetarian and they don't want to go through a hamburger line because they don't want a hamburger, In-N-Out makes the best veggie burger I ever laid a lip on. Normally I don't eat veggie burgers, but here's one of their veggie burgers. Lettuce, tomato, and onion. Really well done. I think I'm going to have to take a nap after this. So there we are for this episode. Try them, you'll like them. In-N-Out hamburgers. Delicioso. Yum. So until next time. Vaya con Dios. Bye bye, friends.